You're listening to Audiology. Support our work on Patreon and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. Back in 1518, there was an unusual event known as the dancing plague or dance epidemic in Strasbourg, Alsace, which is now part of France. This odd occurrence unfolded in the Holy Roman Empire, and it lasted from July to September of that year. Reports say that between 50 and 400 people couldn't stop dancing for weeks on end. Experts have come up with several explanations for this bizarre behavior. The most accepted theory, proposed by historian John Waller, is that the dancing was a result of stress-induced mass hysteria. People have also looked at other possibilities, like poisoning from a fungus known as ergot, or even religious causes. It's also unclear how many people, if any, actually died as a result of the dancing plague, leading to some debate among historians. Let's take a trip back to July of 1518, when something quite extraordinary happened in the city of Strasbourg. It all started when a woman named Frau Troffea stepped out onto a street and began dancing with an unstoppable fervour. She kept at it for an entire week, and before long, 36 more people joined her. By the time August rolled around, the phenomenon had swelled to 400 individuals caught up in what became known as the dancing plague. As you can imagine, this non-stop dancing took a toll, and some dancers actually collapsed, and reportedly a few even passed away, succumbing to strokes or heart attacks. Now you might be asking, what caused all this? Curiously, nobody at the time had a clue, and without understanding the cause, a cure remained elusive. The situation finally began to cool down in early September. The solution? Those still dancing were taken to a mountain shrine to pray for forgiveness. We have detailed accounts of this event, including physician notes, cathedral sermons, and even records from the Strasbourg City Council that confirm one thing: people unquestionably danced uncontrollably. Initially, the authorities tried various interventions, such as refurbishing guild halls and hiring musicians, all in the hope of helping those affected by the mania. Ironically, these efforts only made things worse, compelling the council to ban all public dancing and music, fearing it was seen as a punishment from St. Vitus. A notion that actually led even more people to join the dancing craze in an attempt to be free of sin. Eventually, those affected were sent to the shrine of St. Vitus. Here's where it gets a bit more colourful. They wore red shoes with crosses painted on them, were sprinkled with holy water, and held small crosses in their hands. Incense burned, and Latin prayers were recited all around them. And after being forgiven by Vitus, it was declared the ritual had been successful, and the dancing plague came to an end. This wasn't the first or last occurrence of such an unusual event. Similar events are reported to have happened throughout the medieval age, including a case in the 11th century Saxony and another in the 15th century Apulia, Italy. In Italy, a woman supposedly danced uncontrollably after a tarantula bite, and the only cure known to them was to dance it off the right kind of music, a treatment accepted by scholars at the time. So what did people back then think was the cause? Some pointed to demonic possession or overheated blood. It's a mysterious chapter in history, one that certainly gets you thinking about the power of the mind over the body. When we look back at the infamous dancing plague of 1518, there's quite a bit of debate surrounding what actually happened. There are claims out there that, at its peak, this unusual plague was claiming the lives of about 15 people daily. However, contemporary records from the city of Strasbourg, where this all took place, don't back this up. They don't even confirm if anyone actually died from the dancing. No available records from that time specifically mention any deaths. Ned Pennant-Rea, a historian, has pointed out that while we can't be sure of the final death count, the numbers could have reached into the hundreds if that estimate of 15 deaths a day were accurate. The main person we get this information from is John Waller. He's the author behind the book A Time to Dance, A Time to Die, the extraordinary story of the dancing plague of 1518, and he has penned several journal articles on this topic. But it's important to note that the details and stories of death that Waller references actually come from accounts written after the events took place, so they weren't eyewitness reports. Now, there's also some mystery around who started this whole dancing frenzy. Was it an unnamed woman or someone known as Frau Troffea? The exact number of those caught up in the dancing is also unclear, with estimates ranging from 50 to 400 people. Out of the 6 historical accounts from chronicles of that time, 4 of them suggest that this Lady Troffea was the first one to dance. Let's talk about one possibility for the cause of the dancing mania: food poisoning. Some experts think the dance outbreaks could have been due to toxic substances produced by ergot fungi, which is often found on grains like rye. This is the same fungus that has been linked to historical events such as the Salem witch trials, ergotamine, The primary psychoactive substance produced by this fungus is closely related to the hallucinogen LSD. However, in an article in The Lancet, John Waller expresses doubt about this theory. He argues that it is highly unlikely that those affected by ergot could have danced continuously for days. Additionally, he notes that this explanation does not account for why virtually every incident of dancing mania happened along the Rhine and Moselle rivers, which are areas with very different climates and crops. Moving on to another theory which relates to stress-induced mass hysteria. This kind of situation occurs when a large group of people suddenly starts showing the same strange behavior. The behavior spreads quickly, almost like an epidemic. John Waller suggests that the dancers of Alsace might have been experiencing a stress-induced psychosis at a mass level. The reason? At that time, the region was going through particularly harsh years, even by the tough standards back then. There was widespread starvation and disease, and the people were known to be superstitious. It's worth noting that Alsace wasn't the only area to report dancing plagues. 7 other incidents were documented in the same medieval region. The mass hysteria could have led to chorea, which is a condition involving spontaneous and complex movements that jump from one body part to another. In the Middle Ages, there were several names given to independent episodes of dancing mania, such as St. Vitus's dance, St. John's dance, and Tarantism. These all refer to the unrelated outbreaks of dancing that occurred in Central Europe, particularly during times when the plague was rampant. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more content.